Today on the show, we're going to be talking about Jinx from DC Comics and Mattie Franklin from the Spider-Man comics. If you didn't know that Jinx is nothing like her cartoon counterpart, then this show is for you. So, Jinx and Mattie Franklin, a character from DC and a character from Marvel. And these two characters actually have something in common. They were rarely used and the histories are very, very short. Also, as things stand at the moment, these two characters are not going to be used anytime soon. Which is a shame for Mattie because she's one of my favourite Spider-Man characters, and she's very underestimated. She has a lot of potential and she suffers from bad writing. When it comes to Jinx, let's just say the Teen Titans TV show was very, very kind to her. But first, we are going to talk about Mattie Franklin. So, Mattie Franklin, the third official Spider-Woman and the second to have her own series. She would first appear in the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 262 in the background, then have her first major appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 441. Then she would have her first appearance as Spider-Woman in Spider-Man issue 446. So the plan for this Spider-Woman series was to create a series that had the same feel as the original Spider-Woman, but give it that charm of Spider-Man. This would mean that the enemies would be dark and gritty and not exactly straightforward, but they would be encountered with a level of humour. On paper, this is a great idea, and this character even had her own quirks, like constantly changing her costume because she was never happy with it. Unfortunately, the sales for this series weren't exactly great. Those who did read the series really enjoyed it, but because the sales weren't high, the series had to be cancelled. The series was cancelled after 18 issues, and after this Mattie only had 2 adventures before her death, and in one of these adventures she was in a semi-conscious state the entire time. So Mattie would grow up with her father after her mother died, and then one night she would overhear a phone call with her father and Norman Osborn. It turns out that Norman was planning a ritual called the Gathering of Five. Mattie would take her father's place in the ritual and at the end of it would be bestowed with powers. So Mattie would first become Spider-Woman when Spider-Man temporarily retired. She would actually wear a costume that was pretty much identical to Spider-Man's, not because he asked her to, but because she was a huge fan of his and actually had a really big crush on him. After Spider-Man's eventual return, she would continue to be Spider-Woman, but then a woman called Charlotte Witter, who also went by Spider-Woman, would attack Mattie and steal all of her powers. Charlotte had not only stolen Mattie's powers, but the powers from all of the previous Spider-Women. So when they teamed up to get their powers back, Mattie would accidentally absorb all of the Spider-Woman's powers into herself. After this, with the help of Jessica Drew and Madame Web, she would become a full-time hero with experienced support. Now Mattie's father was always working, so she was really, really lonely. So eventually, she would move in with a family friend called Jonah Jameson, who all of you might know as the editor of the Daily Bugle. Jonah and his wife Marla actually enroll Mattie into a private school, and here she would meet a girl called Cheryl after Cheryl sees Mattie using her powers. It is worth saying that Mattie rarely used and never mastered the other Spider-Woman's powers, so they would return to their original owners over time. I would like to say that there were key adventures for Mattie in her Spider-Woman run, but there really wasn't. It was all foundation building. And we already had 2 Spider-Women now that had very solid foundations, so no one wanted to read it, which is why the series had to come to an end. There was nothing that had a huge impact and nothing that was really long-lasting, but the series would be very satisfying to read, and I recommend all of you go out and try and get your hands on it. A few years later, in the Lowness series, Mattie would be slipped the date rape drug. And by this point, her toxin resistance powers had already gone away, which meant she was rendered totally senseless. Mattie was tortured and experimented on so a drug dealer could create the mutant growth hormone. she would eventually be rescued by Jessica Drew and Jessica Jones and be returned home. After this, Mattie would go after the dealers that experimented on her, and this would lead her to LA, and she would also be teamed up with Darkhawk and Ricochet. This series essentially consisted of Mattie, Ricochet, and Darkhawk failing mission after mission, and Mattie getting frustrated at the other two because they'd forgotten how to be heroes. At the end of the series, Mattie no longer trusts her teammates and goes back home. The series was really badly written, and I really didn't enjoy it whatsoever, which sucks for me to say because I really like Mattie as a character. Eventually, she would be captured by Anna Tatiana Kravinoff, and she would contact Spider-Man by psychic link through Madame Web, who was also captured. She would tell Spider-Man that what's about to happen is not his fault and that she did not cry. Shortly after this, she would be murdered. I really love this character. I think she has a great aesthetic, and I really think that she would fit very well into the current Marvel universe, much better than when she first appeared about 15 years ago. Now we're on to Jinx. She would first appear in Tales of the New Teen Titans number 56 in 1985. Before we get into her history, let's quickly talk about her comic incarnation versus her cartoon incarnation. First off, she doesn't appear nearly as much and doesn't have nearly as much depth. Secondly, she's not albino and doesn't have pink hair. In fact, she's bald and Indian. Lastly, she's an elemental sorceress. Her powers have nothing to do with manipulating probability like her cartoon counterpart. So as you can see, the Teen Titans cartoon really took a name and did their own thing, which I don't really mind because, like I said, she doesn't appear much. I mean, it's not like they changed Arrowette and called her Artemis or something. So Jinx would actually be a part of the Fearsome Five, not the Hive. She would actually join the Fearsome Five when they attacked Star Labs, where Jinx was prisoner. After this, Jinx would join Cersei's army of supervillains and would be defeated by Wonder Woman. In one of Jinx's more recent adventures, she, Gizmo, Mammoth, Simon, and Shimmer would all be put to work by Dr. Savannah. The team would try and steal LexCorp stock by going around to LexCorp corporate buildings and stealing its accounts and killing off all the people inside of the buildings. The team would eventually try and break away from Dr. Savannah, but Dr. Savannah would shoot Gizmo in the head with a laser and then say that the rest of the team should not come and find him because if they do, he will kill them as well. After this, the team would go to LexCorp's nuclear missile facility and shoot a nuclear missile at Canada. But then they would be stopped and defeated by the Outsiders, but Jinx was the only member of the team to not be locked away. Later on, she would join the Injustice League and would be sent to get a Get Out of Hell free card from the Secret Six. And after this, Jinx is not seen again. In my opinion, Jinx in the comics is a really uninteresting character. Like I said, the cartoon was very, very kind to her, so what I would like to see if they wanted to use Jinx in the New 52 is her cartoon counterpart. It would be awesome to see the witchy albino girl transition from the cartoon to the comics and maybe have her own series. The cartoon version of the character is definitely interesting and well-rounded enough to do this with. She would be like Harley Quinn, but for the new generation of comic book readers. I wouldn't say have her appear in her own series to begin with though, have her as a side character in Justice League Dark or Shadow Pact or a series like that. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. If you think I missed anything about Mattie Franklin or Jinx, please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history, and also don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.